Welcome to Let's Talk All Things Art. I'm your host, Julie Whitney Scott, and with me today, I have a photographer. Yes, you know I like photographers. I believe that there is art in pictures and how you tell a story through pictures. And I have with me Mr. Jason Flakes, who is this man has been on Tedx. Do I need to say anything more? He has been doing a lot of stuff, and I just want to talk to him and introduce him to you guys right here, my listening audience and my YouTube audience. Jason Flakes, welcome to Let's Talk All Things Art.
Hey, Julie, thanks for having me. I love what you do, and thanks for having me on the show. So you have a lot of questions there. So what you got for me?
Let's start off. Now they're going to be easy. It's not going to be hard. Anybody who's been on my show knows that we're going to have a fun time. So let's start off first with, I like for my audience to get an idea of how the artists that I present develop their art. What made you want to be a photographer, Jason?
So I used to be a little kid, and I had a Polaroid camera, and I would take pictures. I remember of my Ninja Turtles. I would set them up on the coffee table and take pictures of them and post them around the house. And I remember how fun that was. And then I went to college for architecture and design, and I did that for a little while, but photography was something that I was truly passionate about. And in 2008, I don't know if you remember, we had a giant economic collapse. And, I was out of work. I was trying to figure out what I was going to do next in my life. And I started, looking at certain things and other jobs and places of employment, but photography kind of came back. It was always in the back of my mind. And I had a friend who had asked me, do you still take pictures? And now this friend was from elementary school. So the pictures I took in elementary school weren't bad, but they were elementary school pictures. So it was interesting that he asked me that. And he told me that they were looking for someone to do photography, architectural photography for a hotel chain, a major hotel chain. And so I submitted a portfolio, and I started taking photos of these buildings, and I fell in love with it all over again. And from there, I started to make art and take pictures of ballet dancers at the Washington Ballet. I traveled around the world and photographed the Eiffel Tower, and it's just been a wonderful journey, and that's pretty much how we got to where we are today. The rest is really history. So that's the gist of it.
Wow, you talk a little bit about your travels. How did you get to travel? Was it part of your job? And I think that some of my audience members would really like to know, what is that aspect of being able to use your art across the world?
Right. Yeah. So the first project that I actually did was in France. They saw some work that I had done and commissioned me and wanted me to photograph these energy efficient homes that they were building for a project that they call the Solar Decathlon. And so what we did was they flew us out there, and we were there for about a month, and we were able to photograph the houses being built, photograph the architecture, photograph the people, photograph the culture. And how I got involved with that was once again, I submitted my portfolio. I sent my portfolio out to people that were involved with that project. Being architecture, obviously, since it's something I went to school for, and being part of things that are energy efficient is something that I'm truly passionate about. I'm passionate about designing a better world, designing a world that's sustainable. So I expressed that passion to those people, and they loved what I had to offer, and we were able to collaborate on an amazing project and build lifelong friendships with those people in France, who I still talk to a lot of them today.
That's great. One thing about us as artists, when we're doing different things, it does connect us with people, and we develop our families. We have I do theater, my theater families. I do radio, got a radio family. Photographer, you got your family there, or just people that were a part of your project. Jason, talk to your mission it centers on enriching lives through captivating storytelling and groundbreaking designs. Tell us, how do you do that? Because a lot of times when people, you take pictures for things, um, and sometimes people don't see it as art. People may not see, oh, he took pictures of buildings. Okay. But when you was just talking about that experience that you had in France, you were talking about not just the buildings, but the community and the people. And let's talk a little bit about how pictures can be stories.
Yeah. So I remember I met a lady once and she asked me what I did for a living, and I told her I was a photographer. Her English wasn't that good, and she spoke Spanish, and she said, "So you make pictures?" And I thought about that for a minute, and I said, "Yeah, I do. I make pictures. I don't just take them." And part of photography is making a picture. When you make a painting, you make it. You don't take a painting, you make a painting. And art is like that all across the board when you really are diving into it. So you might capture a moment here and there with your camera, but to really make a picture, you have to think about lighting. You have to think about what is the story that people are going to see when they see this one image just from this one photo. And I remember I was in Guyana, Suriname, Guyana, which is in South America, and I was working on a project with a group of teachers that travel there to help teach other teachers in different areas of Guyana. And I remember we were in a village, and there was a little boy, and he was walking to the watering hole to get water to take back to his mother in the morning before school. He had to carry these 2 buckets of water back so that they could wash their clothes, wash up, and get ready to go to school, and also use some of that water to prepare their food. And I remember seeing him go, and I said, when he comes back, I want to get a shot of him walking across. It was almost like a wooden board over top of a vast amount of water because it's a swampy area. And he had the 2 buckets of water on his shoulder, and you could kind of see his house in the background. And I had to pre-plan all this out in my head before he came back so I could be ready to take the photo or make the photo, as it were. And he walks across, and we get this shot of him walking across, and he's looking directly at the camera. And it was an amazing shot because you can see in his face that he was a little tired, but he was ready to go. He was excited about going to school, and you can see his mom in the background, and you can see all these things from his village and his neighborhood. And it tells the story of, where's this kid going, and what you want to know more about this little boy. So then you realize that there's more to his life than just, a kid carrying a bucket of water, right? So whenever I try to take any photo, I think about the design aspects that go into it. If it's something that's quick, then I have to think quickly on my feet and think about, okay, this and this is going to happen. I have to predict what's going to happen in the future. Otherwise, if it's something that I can stage, maybe it's something more of a marketing photo, then we have time to actually sit down and make calculated decisions about the photo that we're going to take. And then we can create that photo as we shoot it. And the same goes for filmmaking too. When you're making the video, we do the same thing, except for now the pictures are moving. And so now you have to think about how you're designing multiple pictures in a sequence.
Now, Jason, you use a variety of medium platforms to bring life into your work. Talk to us about, although you've already kind of started a little bit, and you're talking about the feminine aspect and coming together and making a project, so it's not just picture taking. Talk about all those mediums that you use to tell your stories as a photographer.
Yeah, so there's the camera. I love, the simplicity of just holding a camera in my hand and then, capturing a photo. But then I also am a filmmaker as well. So I like to shoot documentary style type films. I feel like there's a lot of story that you can tell in a documentary. And there's so many different aspects and avenues behind that. I also draw and I paint a little bit. It's been a while since I've painted, but I think both of those things help with making photography be great. You have to sometimes sketch out the images that you want ahead of time to then capture them digitally or via film. But yeah, photography and videography, I also still design some things as well. I'm designing a park in Akron, Ohio. We've designed a nice sitting area with a few sculptures, and then we designed a place where other artists can also present their work as well. So it's a tribute to other artists in Akron as well. So those are my three big things: would be sculpture and design, photography, and then video.
Talk a little bit about the research that you do, Jason, to make sure that your finished product is brilliant.
Yeah, so there's a lot of research that goes into any kind of project that we're creating. First, it's we want to talk to the people that are involved. We're making a lot of phone calls. We're doing a lot of interviews because you want to get the community involved and you want to see what they think about a specific art piece, whether it's a video or whether it's a sculpture that's going to be in a park or whether it's a presentation of photos, right? Because everything that you make doesn't appeal to everybody, but you may make something that can appeal to a group of people. So if we're taking pictures of cars, then obviously that would be for car enthusiasts, right? But if we're taking pictures of something that's nature related, maybe it's butterflies or what have you, then obviously we need to talk to those people in that community. So then I need to talk to somebody who is a butterfly enthusiast, and we're going to spend hours just on that. And then I have to do my own research and learn about the subject matter. So now I'm a butterfly enthusiast. I'll give you a good example is we were working with falconers. And so I had to learn about falconry. I actually had to, let the bird land on my arm and let him take off and understand how that actually works. Why are there falconers? Why do they exist? And there's a lot of why questions. So you become a kid again because you're continuously asking someone or something why, and you don't stop, and you just keep going until you get as many answers as possible. And then obviously you do your due diligence and you crack open a dictionary or Wikipedia and you do an internet search and learn about it. And then once you've done all that, now you have to do the research of the imagery, right? So there's a website called Shot Deck that I like to use sometimes, and it has a library of images from thousands or maybe even millions at this point of movies, and you can get the look and feel and tone of a different type of movie, and that'll help guide you with a mood board, and figure out, well, how do I want this film or my photos to look for this thing that I'm creating. And then it'll give you some direction. So then that way you can come up with your own look and feel, but now you have a starting place, right? You don't have to start directly from scratch. A lot of times, they say still like an artist because nothing is really new in a sense. So it's good to look at what other artists have done. So then that way you don't recreate the wheel, and then you can really truly create something that's new, or different from something that's already been created and it's sitting out there. So yeah, research is it's a long, arduous process. Sometimes we'll do free association where we just kind of have people blurt out ideas. And one thing that I like to do is I'll take words. So if we're doing a video, I'll say about a chef cooking, right? So where do we want this video to go? So we'll start to ask people, so what do you think of when you think of cooking? And then we'll write down all those words. And then what do you think of when you think of a chef? And then we'll write down all those words. And we'll do that about 4 or 5 times. And then we'll take all those words and put them in columns. And then what we'll do is we'll take each of those words and try to condense them down to one main word at the top of each of those columns. And those 4 or 5 words will kind of give us a sentence that we can then build a narrative to then create the thing that we want to create. I don't know if that made sense. It sounds more complicated than it actually is, but it's a nice brainstorming thing that we like to do when we're trying to create and design.
Oh, I like that. I really do. And I really am going to check out the place. What is it again? Where you go to see pictures and things that are already done?
It's called Shot Deck.
I'm going to check that out because that'll really work for me too. As sometimes I design in the set. Well, like I scratch out what I want the set to look like that I'm directing. If I'm like I just directed Raise It in the Sun and earlier Intimate Apparel, and I kind of scratched out. This is what I would like to see in my little scratch.
Yeah,
Then it goes to a real set designer. You know, that's what they do.
right.
You know, that's their that's them. That's what they do. Um, and but using that tool that you was talking about, I think that can also help a lot of artists in different genres, especially when you're talking about reproducing or doing something that's already been done, or especially with the research part. What did it actually look like?
Yeah, yeah,
You
that's
know,
really
and
helpful.
what's the landscape like? What were people wearing? You know, at that time, and yeah. So thank you. That's going to help a lot. Some of my artistic people out there find another place where we can do some research when we're trying to make things as authentic and as possible. But
Yeah,
I like how you said that. Be able to put your own little thing to it, so it's not that.
yeah, you're gonna put your little secret sauce on there and give it a different flavor.
You are an award-winning filmmaker.
Yes.
And we've already talked about you're also award-winning industrial designer. So we've already talked a little bit about how that works. What's talk to us about that film that you got your award for?
Yeah, so the most recent one was a little short film called Here Congo. And what it is about is we went to the artisanal mines in the Dominican Republic of the Congo, and we looked at their mining cobalt and copper, both things that are in probably your computer or your cell phone, and a large percentage of it, I believe, it was somewhere near 70% of that is in most technology today, and it's coming out of the Congo. And so there's just so many issues with the people that live there and the government, and then other governments that are coming in to mine this material, and it's not helping out the people that live there, and it's to their own detriment. So we told the story of how just your simple cell phone that you have in your hand every day is affecting a group of people thousands of miles in a whole other country on another continent, and what this organization is doing to help combat that, and to help out the people that live there. So we got we won some awards for that, and that was an amazing journey just in itself, just to even go over there and to see the Congolese people and to interact with them. But to tell that story, and hopefully other people will hear it, and people are starting to learn more about it now. I don't know if you heard this, but the new iPhone came out, and now their cobalt that are in the batteries is all recycled. So people are learning and hearing about what's happening and the atrocities that are happening over there. And if you look up Here Congo, you should be able to find the little short film that we did for that.
What has been the most important project that you've been on thus far, as either a film
Oh,
maker or an industrial designer or both?
oh man, that's a good question. The most important, they're all important to me. But I think the most impactful might be probably the Here Congo documentary, would probably be the most impactful one, just because it affects so many people, so many big electronic companies. I won't go into names, but a lot of big companies were there when we were filming. We got to talk to a lot of them about what is happening there. And I think as a designer, I've designed some things that are boring that I think are boring in the sense to most people, but they affect so many people. So I designed a part that helps with the circuit breakers that power your house. And it's a little small part, but it stops. It's almost like a surge protector, if you will. So it stops those surges from coming through into your home and shutting down your power. And there's like thousands of those all around the country. But I think the most important one For me, man, that's a good question. I gotta think about this a lot. Probably be, I worked on a project for the Discovery Channel, and we designed one of their studios that they use to produce a lot of nature films, and I love nature films. So it's kind of a behind the scenes design for me. So I feel like every time I watch a nature film, I think it's coming out of that studio.
That's cool. I'm a butterfly friend. That is my
Okay.
favorite insect is butterflies.
Butterflies, okay.
Oh, I love butterflies. And I'm a nature girl. I love outside. Talk to us. How did you get on TEDx?
It just so happens that I was in the right place at the right time and had an idea about hustle culture. And this idea was SIT, which is schedule intentional tranquility in your life. And as a filmmaker and a photographer, sometimes and an artist, I find myself always making art. And if you're always putting something out, you never have a chance to rejuvenate yourself and to rest and to then create something even better the next time because you're burnt out. And the idea is that you schedule that intentional tranquility period into your projects. So if you're working on painting a mural, schedule the rest breaks into that mural. That should be a part of the project because now it helps you clear your mind. It helps you create better designs or better art versus something that feels forced or rushed. When we think about artists from the 16th century and even before that, it took a long time to create a lot of the art that they created. Now we're creating art like this. We're turning out so fast. But if you think about any project that you worked on, if you worked on it quickly, what if you didn't? What if you took your time and you were able to rest and to take the time that you wanted to then create that art? You didn't feel the pressure from society or the pressure from maybe you're creating it for someone you've been commissioned, and all those pressures are alleviated. Then it just makes your art just go up, and it's just 1,000 times better. Now you've created something that you're truly happy with and it's completed. So I submitted that idea, and TEDx Youngstown loved it, and I was able to present that on the TEDx stage. It was last year. So yeah, I mean, if you go to the TED website and you type in TEDx, you'll see all the different locations all around the world, really, and then you can look at those locations and then make a decision on maybe this one doesn't fit for me, but there's this one over here that definitely fits the narrative or the story that I want to tell. So you submit that idea, and a group of panelists will look at your idea, and then they'll select your amazing idea that's worth sharing, and then you'll be able to get on the TED stage and share that with the world.
That's good information. Somebody out there, somebody listening, you may have a project that's just right for TEDx. You could be like Jason Flakes, photographer who travels and has traveled. Talk to us about, is there a difference when you go to different countries or place like that in how photographers and are treated as artists?
Yeah, everywhere is different. I think in certain countries, being an artist is like being a doctor almost. They understand what it does to the human psyche, what it does to the community, and what it does to people. And they understand that everything around us is designed. It's in essence, there's an art to everything that we design. If it wasn't, then things would be very bland and very mechanical, right? And in some countries, they don't view it that way. If people hear you're a photographer, people will come gather around because they want to meet the photographer, right? And they want you to take their picture, even if they never see it. They want to become art. But then there's other places where art is not looked at the same way, or being a photographer or a filmmaker is not looked at the same way. They don't see the importance behind it, even if they interact with it on a daily basis. And I do love being able to travel and meet people that have a different appreciation for it, because you may appreciate it yourself because you create it, but then you sometimes learn to appreciate it even more because of the love that's shown from different individuals and different cultures all around the world. And then you get to see art from a different perspective. Here in America, we look at it one way, and we go over to England or Italy or any other country, and you'll see how they look at the world slightly different, and how other artists create things because they look at the world different. And then it kind of tunes your own artistic ability yourself, and you pick up certain things so that when you go create, now you come up with your own style and your own thumbprint that doesn't currently exist because you didn't have it without those experiences. So it is amazing to read those different pages of the book all around the world from different people and get different viewpoints. And it's cool now because now we have the internet and we have technology that can connect us to people around the world that we weren't able to be connected to before. And so now we can learn from these different cultures and talk to different people. And it's not something just as simple in my mind as just, following somebody on a social media platform, but really making those connections with these people from different walks of life and having a conversation with them and really learning about who they are and what they do, so that you can then add that to your own portfolio and your own psyche of creating art.
I noticed that behind you, I'm seeing different photos come up. Or is that your work?
Yeah, so these are drone images of a short film that I made of some of my various travels. What we did was we traveled around, and I took shots of moving images. So this is looking down on the city right now, this shot here, and I made it look like a painting. So it may be hard to see on the camera on Zoom, but these shots have been manipulated painstakingly in Photoshop. This is before all this AI came out. Now I think you can do it a lot easier, but each of these shots are manipulated so it looks like a moving painting versus just the actual video shot of something that's aerial in the sky. And it's called The Earth Painted, and it's you can find it on YouTube, and it's been submitted to some film festivals. Actually, the Detroit Film Festival. It's at this moment right now, it's a semi-finalist, so we'll see what happens. Hopefully, we'll win something from it. But yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, it's this beautiful art that you're making there. And what's this change maker? Are you a change maker, Jason Flakes?
I try to be. I try to be a change. I try to, make some changes and be a little different. But yeah, a little bit.
This has been a very informative interview. Anyone listening that had one idea about what they see a photographer as are going to come away realizing there's a whole lot of things more to it, and that it is an art in certain instances when you're using it as an art. Before we end this interview, I like for my guests to give a word of encouragement to someone out there that's listening, that have played around with their camera or whatever, and are thinking about being an artist as a photographer.
So my word of encouragement would be is everybody is an artist, and all you have to do is go create. And the more you create, the more you'll learn. The more you learn, the more you create. And there's no better art or worse art. It's just about the process of creating. And I think the journey is the destination. So just start the journey. If you don't start the journey, you'll never really truly be an artist, and you'll never be a creator. So start the journey and live in that destination as long as you can, and get eyes on your work and get it out there. Even if you don't, there's pieces that I create that nobody ever sees. It's just specifically for me and my own enjoyment. I hang them up around the house. Maybe if you come visit me one day, you'll get to see them, but Art, the art is the enjoyment. So regardless of who it's for or who enjoys it or not, it's really for me. And I try to create pieces that I enjoy and that I can relate to. So just do that, just create and enjoy the journey and the destination.
Jason, it's been an honor to talk to you. I've just learned so much that even for me that I didn't even consider when I thought about photography, and that. Um, how do people get to see you? It, do you have a website or something like that where people can go and contact you?
Yeah, best place would probably be Instagram. You can just find me at Jason Flakes, and that's it. It's just my first and last name, JasonFlakes. So at Jason Flakes on Instagram, and you can find me there. You can find me everywhere else.
Well, thank you so much, Jason, for being on Let's Talk All Things Art. This has been a really great interview, and I am so happy that you were able to take the time to be with me. Thank you
Thanks for
so
having
much.
me, Julie. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right. This is Julie Whitney Scott presents Let's Talk All Things Art on WGRN 91.9 FM or WGRN.org. Either way, you can find us there. Thank you for listening.